Sebastian Martinez, MMAnytt, here with Anthony Lionheart Smith, who faces off with Mauricio Shogun. Anthony, it's been quite a ride for you. I mean, if you look back from the Strikeforce days, coming up to the UFC, trying to make a name for yourself there, got in on a nice little win streak, got cut short, now got back in the win column against a legend in Rashad Evans, and now you're looking to continue that win streak against another legend. You said ahead of this fight that you'll fight anyone, anytime, anywhere. But was this perhaps one of the most ideal scenarios for you in taking on a legend like Mauricio Shogun Hua?
Yeah, I do say that a lot, and I mean that when I say I'll fight anybody, anytime, any place. Call me and I'll show up. But normally when that does happen, it's not always the most ideal situation, like you said. So this one worked out perfect. I was already in shape. I had just come off the Rashad fight. I was uninjured. I was healthy. And I was already staying active and getting ready to hopefully fight in Lincoln for the UFC Fight Night in Lincoln. So I was already getting ready. So, I feel better right now in this moment than I felt before the Rashad fight.
And Shogun, he's in on his biggest win streak since he got to the UFC. How do you feel about his performances in his last couple of fights? Some people, for example, thought that his performance against Nogueira didn't necessarily get him the win. Do you feel like this win streak is his best form so far?
I do, especially later on in his career. He's looking good, and he's shown the ability to adapt as he's gotten older and how the game is evolving. He's evolving with it. He's not nearly as wild and he's still very, very aggressive, but he's not nearly as wild as he used to be, and he's more defensively sound than he used to be. He's a lot more patient, so I think that I probably would have had an easier fight with Shogun, maybe 4 or 5 years ago when he was a little bit, he would kind of throw caution to the wind and just go. Now he's a little bit more cerebral and he thinks stuff out a little bit more. So. And I think his win streak is impressive. Shogun Hu is on a 3-5 win streak in 2018. That's awesome, and that gives me confidence as I get older that as long as you are smart and you train the way you're supposed to train and you keep that mindset of just getting better, that I still got a lot of time left in the sport.
Another person who seems to have been impressed by Shogun is Daniel Cormier, because he recently said that he felt that perhaps Shogun would deserve a title shot ahead of, for example, Alexander Gustafsson. Do you feel that perhaps with him saying that, a win over Shogun should put you in the title contention?
Well, first off, I think Gustafsson is definitely the next in line, or he should be. The body of work that Gus has put in is impressive, and I think he deserves it more than anybody. But that said, if Daniel thinks he's the next guy and I beat the next guy, I beat that guy, where does that put me? You know what I mean? I know that MMA isn't necessarily that black and white, but it definitely puts me in a position to raise my hand and ask for a big fight for sure.
And Gustafsson is without opponent right now. Volkan Ozdemir fell out with injury. And as you said, you'd fight anyone, anytime, anywhere. Do you think that with a quick victory here, where you leave uninjured, would you be willing to take a fight with Gustafsson at UFC 227?
Hell yeah. Yeah, I don't have any problem with that. Like I said, I have a tall task in front of me right now. So my focus is on Shogun for sure. And if you look past someone like Shogun, you'll be waking up looking at the lights. So I'm super focused on Shogun, but if things go well and I get out of there quickly and uninjured, I have no problem stepping up and helping Gus out with the fight.
And to do that, like you said, you gotta, you can't look past Shogun. And you mentioned some interesting things that, he's still aggressive, but very, or a bit more technical than he used to be. What progression do you feel that you've made in the last couple of fights that will be a deciding factor on your side?
I think it's very similar. I've always been really aggressive. But specifically, I've been focused on being more defensively sound, and that's kind of the same thing that Shogun's been doing, and I think that just with guys with styles like Shogun and I, eventually you're going to have to learn to block some of the punches with something other than your face, So I think that that's the things that I've been focused on, and just being smarter and slowing the game down a little bit. Sometimes I get in there and I put my foot on the gas and I just go. And that kind of happened in the Thiago Santos fight. I got buzzed a little bit, and then you see red and you just go. And moving up to 205 helped a lot with just my mindset and not feeling so shitty all the time, and not feeling like with that fuck it mentality, let's just go. So I think that those are the things that are going to help me be successful against Shogun.
And this is a card that has been, unfortunately, afflicted with a lot of injuries. I mean, obviously it's good for you and such, but a lot of the fans have been left wondering up until the last week, basically, about certain matchups. We've got David Zavada a little bit further down, also to make a short notice fight. Do you feel any sense of pressure or obligation? Okay, you got to make sure that it's a good fight at least, because people came out for a great card and a lot of injuries happened.
I don't know if I feel any pressure, but I don't think I feel any pressure because I always bring in good performances, and the fights are always exciting, and that's not something that I have to try to do. That's just who I am. Deep down on the inside, that's just who I am. And I hope that the fans here in Germany just give me an opportunity. Just tune in. I promise. It'll be worth your time to watch the fight, no matter what. Win, lose, draw, whatever happens. It'll be worth the price of admission. And I think that that's what the UFC loves about me, and I think that that's what the fans that do know me love about me. It doesn't matter who I'm fighting, when I'm fighting. It'll be worth it. So I just hope that the fans just tune in and just give me the opportunity to entertain you.
Well, I couldn't agree more, or possibly top that, because it is completely correct. Fans at home, be sure to keep a lookout for the bout between Mauricio Shogun Rua and Anthony Smith. Thank you very much, and good luck in the fight.
Thank you very much.